Stunning. All of America turned its eyes to this, the biggest upset in college football. BYU beat UCF. This is Locked On Big 12. I'm not happy, by the way, and I'll explain why.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome into Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thank you for making this show your first listen every single day. If you hit subscribe, I get to keep my job, and I would love to keep my job right now. Rent is high. BYU upset UCF. And I'm upset that that happened. Not because BYU won, but the national disrespect that the Cougars are getting and the rest of this conference is getting. Here's why. And I will break this game down, but for BYU, for Iowa State, for Kansas State, there is a rhetoric nationally that is completely irresponsible that this conference is so cannibalistic. This conference beats itself up so much. There's so much parity. The Big 12 can't have one team that's dominant over the others. Here's why. Here's why, after watching BYU blow out UCF, I'm not happy. Vandy, 18-point underdogs against Texas. Oklahoma, 21-point underdogs this week against Ole Miss. Oh, how about Missouri? 15-point underdogs against Alabama. Illinois, 21-point underdogs against Oregon. Why? In all of those examples, there is a really good football team, top 10, top 15 football team, playing an also kind of relevant football team. In the case of Oregon, Illinois, two ranked programs. So why is there a 15 or 20-point gap in those games? But when BYU, the best team in the Big 12, plays UCF, effectively an irrelevant team in the Big 12 right now, a school that's lost 5 straight. It is a 3-point spread, and UCF is favored. Why? Why nationally do we have to allow our best schools, the schools that win consistently, the schools that dominate consistently, to be disrespected as teams that are a part of that Big 12 that's so crazy and chaotic, they'll probably lose this week? Oh, we shouldn't be very confident in Iowa State or BYU or Kansas State or Cincinnati or Colorado. Hey, yeah, we'll make it a couple-point spread here because, yeah, that's so crazy. They'll probably lose. What? Why does 2-loss Alabama get that amount of leeway against Missouri? Why does Oregon get that amount of leeway against Illinois, a top 25 team? And maybe your case is, well, Alabama blew them out. Oh, yeah, well, Illinois got killed by Oregon. Yeah, and guess what? UCF got killed by BYU. If this was a double-digit spread in favor of BYU, they still would have covered 10. They still would have covered 12. They still would have covered 13. But they were the underdogs against UCF. This was nationally an upset for BYU to go on the road and beat UCF. That's not a representation of what this conference is right now. It's not a representation of what BYU is or Iowa State. I just don't get it. I don't get why we can't have superstars. I don't get why we can't have a school, multiple schools, that nationally everyone turns and says, yes, they're supposed to win. And BYU fans, either close your ears or bear with me here. Did you set this line? While Utah fans believe they will win every game by 1 million points, BYU fans the opposite. And I understand, being a Baylor fan, grew up the same way. Wow, getting choked up over here. I always expected Baylor to lose. So yeah, we'll find a way to lose this week. BYU fans, by and large, from what I hear, it's like, yeah, well, I can see UCF being favored. We'll probably find a way to disappoint. No. The more stars we have, the more top 10 teams we have, the more ranked teams we have, the better off the Big 12 is. Like, look at the Baylor-Oklahoma State game. Oh, sweet. Now one team's 4-4 and one team's 3-5. Nice. Doesn't really get us anywhere. Oh, cool. TCU's 5-3, Texas Tech's 5-3. Awesome. No one in 5 years outside of the Big 12 or really inside of the Big 12 is going to say, remember that Texas Tech season in 2024? Remember TCU season in 2024? Yeah, that 7-5 campaign. Cool. No. People remember TCU in the national championship. People remember Baylor destroying Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. That's what we need, is competition at the top level. And guess what? Doesn't take long to look and see that we have it in BYU or Iowa State. It's just being lost somewhere in the national conversation. And I don't understand why, and I don't understand what it takes to get the respect that is deserved, because BYU blew the brakes off UCF. If you watch this game, and I don't know what it is about you people that's rubbing off on me, but now, based on how every BYU fan has warned me about college football and the Cougars, I watch all of these games like kind of scared. Oh, when is it going to go wrong? But if I just watch this game objectively from the very beginning, I think, oh, shoot, UCF is overmatched, because they were. The only issue I really have with this game is that garbage time touchdown from Dylan Rizk. Like, have some shame. Go out there and stop them. It should have been 37-17 final score, but UCF grabs a garbage time touchdown, and that dude ran all over the field like it was the Super Bowl. He was so excited. 14 points in the fourth quarter for UCF that made this game at 37-24, at least somewhat respectable-ish. But for BYU, from Jake Retzlaff to LJ Martin, who is a stud, Hinkley Rapati, what a shocking add to this BYU offense. Great. And then Chase Roberts doing what he does. Darius Laster doing what he does. Parker Kingston doing what he does. The list of names that have starred for BYU offensively continues to grow. It gets better and better every darn week. And then defensively, pulling up turnovers. Isaiah Glasker grabbing one, and it's both sides of the ball at this point. But no, they're going to be underdogs. Yeah. UCF's really going to give them a scare, huh, boys? Yeah, come on, reason with me. Wait, what about Utah this week? What about Kansas at home? Do we have to keep putting BYU behind the punch? And what is the point? What is that when everyone else in the top 10 gets an immense amount of respect and BYU is sat here as an underdog? What's the point? Like, I'm telling you, what worries me is I've given you a path for 3 Big 12 teams to be in the college football playoff. BYU is a dominant football team. I'm watching them do it. I've shown you the path. UCF doesn't belong in the same stratosphere as BYU. Get it? Stratosphere because of space? I don't know if the stratosphere is in space, but you have to go through it to get to space. So you kind of see what I'm trying to... there's some dots to connect there. Bear with me on that one, I guess. BYU is much better than UCF. And I just want to know why Alabama, why Oregon, why Texas, why those schools against top 25 teams, against good opponents, for some reason, get to be double-digit favorites. BYU should have been, could have been, won by 13. But no, those Cougs, they're underdogs this week. What an upset. All of America's excited for you, BYU. Hope you celebrate. Have a cigar. Ooh. Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Cigars? Yes or no? I don't know. I would have to Google that. If religiously appropriate, have some cigars. If not, Cougar Tales. Thank you. Coming up tomorrow, let's break down more of the football stuff that we do here in this conference that we get no respect for some reason. One day we will. One day we will. This has been, it always will be, Locked On. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Dose Grande. Hit subscribe.